Vinod, can you hear me?
Yeah.
നന്നായി കേൾക്കാനുണ്ട്.
Okay, good.
Venu Chetan is not reached, has he? Is it raining at your place, Vinod?
Raining. Not heavy at the moment, but raining.
Okay. Venu Chetan is here. So namaskaram to everybody who's logged in, and welcome to the 5th edition of Conservation Conversations. My name is Arun. I'm part of the Intact chapter in Palakkad. I'll be doing this session with my friend architect Vinod, who is the convener of the Thrissur chapter of Intact. We had started this series with Vinod as a guest, talking about the conservation of ancient temples. Today, Vinod is in a different role as a co-host. So welcome, Vinod.
So thank you, Arun. Very happy to be part of this, especially as we have someone as important as Venu Chetan with us. Now, talking about Venu G, he's one of the most important figures in the traditional theatre and dance in Kerala. Also, as a practitioner or performer of Kathakali, and apart from being a practitioner and performer of Kathakali and Kodiyattam, he has been part of many he has played many different roles. He's been a writer, an organizer, a reviver, a person who has revived many art forms. So he has played many important roles in the area of art. So I hope, I don't want to talk too much about it. I'm sure everyone would like to listen about it from Venu Chetan itself. And again, art is facing many great challenges, especially at the time of COVID, and everyone is finding new ways as to how to come across. And I'm sure Venu Chetan would have a lot of advices to the young artists and many people out here listening to him. So very warm welcome to Conservation Conversations, Venu Chetan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Arun. Thank you, Sri Vinod.
Vinod, do you want to start the ball rolling?
Yeah, yes. Now talking about Venu Chetan, we would like to start with, okay, we have heard that you have had the experience to work with the legendary Guru Gopinath. How did it happen? And can you share your experience of being along with such a legendary figure?
Actually, I came into the world of performing art by training in Kathakali at the age of 11. My first teacher was Kirikattu Shankarapullu. And then, after 3 years, I was in a remote village called Nadamangar near Toronto. So there was no institutions or anything to learn Kathakali. So at that time, after few years, I heard that Guru Gopinath is establishing this institute in Toronto. My father knew him very well.
Hmm.
And not only that, I have seen his photographs of Navadasas and I'm highly impressed with the whole personality and everything. So I went and met him and he welcomed. So
Hmm.
I was first student when he established a training center in Toronto. Guru Gopinath was a highly creative person. He's from a very traditional background of Kathakali, and he was, in fact, he was the first student at Kerala Kalamurla in 1930. Great poet Vallathur
Hmm.
started.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
was a senior most student.
Hmm.
He was training and together with other students who become very famous later on in Kathakali. Kalamurla Kushanar was there.
Hmm.
Kushnar was there, Anand Shivaram was there, and the great Madhavan was there.
Hmm.
They are the first team of students, and for singing, it was Neeranda Nambishan was also learning.
Hmm.
And so it was few students, but it was a wonderful, talented people. They all trained, and then they came and joined the Kalam. The main
Hmm.
teacher was Guru Kunchukuru.
Hmm.
So Guruji trained 2 years there, then came a proposal,
Hmm.
American dancer, Ragini
Hmm.
Devi. She was in search of some partners from India.
Hmm.
A little bit of her own style of dance in America, and also she had some training in Dasyatra. At that time, it
Okay.
was Bharatanatyam. With that background, she came and she started learning Kathakali. And one day, when she happened to see Guru Gopinath's class, she was highly impressed by Guru Gopinath. And at that time, he was only Gopinath. He was only uh, 20 years old, 20 or 21. And then she requested uh, Mahadevi whether he can spare this young man to work with her for a few months. So I said,
This was in the 1930s, is it, or 20s?
31.
31. Okay. Okay.
So actually, he came there already trained in Kathakali for many years. I
Hmm.
think after 12 years training only, he joined Kalamandala.
Hmm.
He was already a professional dancer.
Hmm.
And Agni Devi took him and they were preparing a new dance. It is
Okay.
something very interesting.
Okay.
It was not Kathakali. They were creating something with their background.
Right.
Actually, Guru Gopinath from Kathakali background and
Okay.
Ragini Devi is from the background of Ruth Saint Denis in America.
Okay. Okay.
Ruth Saint Denis was a very one of the greatest dancers in the whole world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
She used to travel actually to all over the world and work
Hmm.
with the local artists and create performances. So when she heard Vivekananda's the famous speech,
Hmm.
she got fascinated with India
Hmm.
and was doing a lot of research
Hmm.
on Indian dance. And Ruth started creating Indian dance in the name of Nach.
Nach. Okay.
And she never had been in India, she never got trained, but she was a wonderful dancer performing Indian theme in their contemporary style.
Hmm.
And she came to, she was performing in India for the first time, and the first performance was in Calcutta Opera House.
Okay.
In fact, that was the first exposure of Indian dance in a urban theatre. Until then, there was no performance happening anywhere in India because it was British rule time. It was 1920, I think, and great Tagore was there. young Tagore was witnessing that performance. And that was the first time Tagore saw Indian dance.
Hmm.
Okay. Hmm.
So
He was
any dance being performed outside of a temple, this was the first time.
not only outside, she's not an Indian dancer. She
She's not been. Oh, okay, okay.
created Radha, she created five senses, she
Hmm.
created many things in her own imagination.
Okay.
Tagore came and saw, and Tagore could visualize the scope
Hmm.
for the Indian dance by seeing Ruth.
Hmm.
Then he invited Ruth to his Shantiniketan, and they had a wonderful interaction, and that was the beginning of Tagore taking interest in Indian dance.
Indian dance. Okay.
Then this Ragini Devi from that background, and uh, so she has some great respect for India.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to learn Indian dance, and here that is her background. Gopinath was only a Kathakali artist from Kutanad,
Hmm.
Southern style.
Hmm.
By great Mathur Kunjavade Panikar. Mathur Kunjavade Panikar was one of the greatest performers of the southern state of Kathakali. He was mainly trained by him and later on trained by Kunjakurur and also Changana Rambalai
Hmm.
and a professional, very good dancer. So they both used their talent to
Hmm.
create something, maybe great influence of Ragini Devi. They created
Hmm.
a new dance.
Hmm.
That new dance was something extraordinary.
Hmm.
And they created Lakshmi Narayanamurtam. They created the dance of the Hundar.
Hmm.
These are all from influenced by Kathakali, but at the
Hmm.
same time, music and everything, sarangi, tabla, and all things have been used. And it seems great. Very great of Kalyani also danced in their first
Hmm.
performance.
Hmm.
The troupe.
Orikkiladutha Kalyanima was the first Mohiniyattam teacher in Kalamandalam, which was at that time in its nascent years.
She was also in the troupe.
Okay.
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 And it was wonderful, and everybody appreciated. And Bombay was full of appreciation. Then they traveled all over. And again, Tagore happened to see them, and he invited them to Shantiniketan, and there he saw the performance. He wrote a poem, Tagore,
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
and that was Gopinath and Ragini Devi's.
Debut.
Yeah. Then there is a continuation of what Deshankar and Simki and all did it. Deshankar came also in 1930, first time to Kerala.
Hmm.
So it is all same kind of influencing each other.
Influences.
It's only a few years afterwards this happened.
Hmm.
And then after some time, Ragini Devi couldn't manage the troupe.
Hmm.
So Gopinath came back to Kerala, and someone introduced him to the palace, Travancore Palace. And the Maharani has already seen them.
Hmm.
When she was visiting Calcutta, it seems she has seen Ragini Devi and Gopinath dancing and highly impressed. Even Indira Gandhi has seen at Shantiniketan. She wrote a letter to her father, very famous.
Hmm.
It is published recently in the Indira Gandhi's letter collections.
Hmm.
And she wrote that I have seen a dance by a man, particularly Gopinath. He is very, very brilliant, together with an American dancer, and she is highly impressed.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So that was Gopinath.
Hmm.
And then his journey in Travancore Palace, this Amma Rani was very impressed, and he told, since you are here,
Hmm.
next week she wanted a performance to be done. And
Hmm.
she said, a new dance you perform.
Hmm.
She was organizing some reception to some foreigners or something in the palace. So she gave assignment to do a dance which he has not done before.
Hmm.
So that was a challenge those days.
Hmm.
Even now, the Guruji used to say, he lost his sleep. He was thinking of seriously what to do. Then it seems a dream came as a peacock So he started preparation for the peacock. But this Travancore Maharani not only asked him, but given all facilities.
Hmm.
Facility in the sense, he said the principal of the music order, Krishnan Bhagavatam, will be the music director.
Hmm.
And principal of the engineering order will do the lighting.
Hmm.
And G.P. Shankar, the great connoisseur of art, do the overall supervision of the performance. Only half an hour performance.
Hmm. Hmm.
So very seriously the preparation was going on.
Hmm.
He's, according to Guruji, he
Hmm.
says that day of the performance when
Hmm.
he speak of beautiful music of the like Maihar or something played. And only the from the side being only the one lake appeared.
Hmm.
As there was this sizzling raindrops for a few seconds only. That is it. It was an open air at the Cavalier Palace.
Hmm.
Everybody was so astonished. Performance went on very well. And Amma Maharani and they immediately announced
Hmm.
Venuji. He was only 25 years old at that time.
Hmm.
25-year-old dancer getting Veerasundara was the greatest news at those days. And his gurus, the great exponents of Kathakali still alive at that time, very active. Tota Shankaranam Dodri, Guru Kunchapuru, Tikant Viravani Menon, they were all there in Kerala at performance. But
So it was
this,
like a student getting the Padma Shri before the teachers were properly honored. So a
yeah,
young student, almost like that. He got the Veera Shrinkhala much before his seniors and his teachers and so on.
yes. And then that was the beginning of Guru Gopinath, and they also the palace started a dance school.
Hmm.
Sri Chitrodaya Nartagalayam,
Mm-hmm.
they appointed him as the director.
Okay.
So the greatest thing when you consider the revival of Kerala or Indian, whatever it is,
Hmm.
classical dance is until then nobody sent any girl to learn dance in Kerala.
Right.
Kalamandalam Tangamani was the first student.
Hmm.
And Tangamani married Gopinath. And there, because dance as a profession is not at all considered to be something reputed.
Hmm.
Everybody has spoiled,
Hmm.
the career.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
he established in every aspect.
Hmm.
He showed people a role model.
Hmm.
He not become a big news in Toronto area.
Hmm.
Company also. So all this reputed families started sending their children, girls, to learn dance. It is a great news. There only Ladda and Padmini came.
Hmm.
Many others came, but they are from the very respected families in Toronto.
Hmm.
They learned.
Hmm.
Not only they learned, and they simultaneously they were also learning from this Natuna, Dasiatan, and Guru Gopinath, and their mother already visualized their great future for dance career.
Hmm.
So that is Padmini especially. Padmini was a very favorite student of Guruji. He always used to mention her, and that is Guru Gopinath.
It's so fascinating, this whole culture where today children are sent to learn dance at home. You're tracing the beginnings of it, and it was not a long time back. It's relatively recently, because just to hear that, Tagore was seeing an Indian dance for the first time in the late 30s. So it's fascinating to hear about that. But one figure about whom you didn't speak, which I would like to hear very much about, is the guru that you don't talk about very much, who's not exactly your guru, but obviously he was your first guru, your father, who did something quite unusual, quite remarkable, which set you off on this career. Could you talk about your father for a second?
My father,
Yes.
My father, I always,
Obviously, he was a remarkable man to have done the things he did.
I remember him because he's, when he took me for seeing, I know I never had a tradition of Kathakali or any performing art. My father was a singer. My aunt was a singer, but they
Hmm.
never sang on the stage.
Hmm.
Hmm.
They learned very deeply classical music.
Hmm.
Never sing. Aunt used
Performed.
to sing the bhajana, this thing, and my father used to sing for us, playing
Hmm.
harmonium.
Hmm.
And originally, he's a painter.
Hmm.
18 years
Hmm.
Hmm.
painting under Manakattu Ramakrishna, who was a reputed painter.
Hmm.
Hmm.
He has a special concept of painting portrait.
Hmm.
The,
Hmm.
the flesh tint and all, they are highly scientific approach. He used to say that a painting should be, if it a portrait painting, should be lively with all this blood circulation to the inner
Hmm.
this thing should come out with the mixing of the color and many things, so that it's a live painting.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's a dead painting. Don't place it on your house.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
what he used to say.
Hmm.
And he take lot of time in making portrait paintings. So
Hmm.
I wanted to study. When he saw me dancing at home,
Hmm.
seeing a performance, so we were staying at Nirvana. Immediately he decided to start a school.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Kathakali. He was an ordinary man, artist, running a studio, and
Hmm.
very small income. But even then, he decided to start a Kathakali school to
Hmm.
teach together with
Hmm.
other boys also. He
Hmm.
sponsored. That was his greatness. Then I,
Venuchetan, there are these remarkable photographs which I've seen in more places than one. This picture that we are seeing now is one picture, but there is another one also. These brilliant pictures, were they taken by your father?
yes, yes.
Okay. Hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
Wonderful pictures. There is
Hmm.
another one of you being massaged. Yeah, this
Okay.
picture.
Assam,
Hmm.
Kirikati
Hmm.
Sangra. Yeah.
So you would have been around the age of 6 in these pictures.
11, 11.
11.
11.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you started training at home in the school that your father started, this little colliery that your father started. That's where you started your training.
Yeah.
And later you went to Guru Gopinath. And
Hmm.
one of
Yeah.
the most remarkable projects that we know you having done is the system of notations, which is a first of its kind system of notations for Kathakali. How did that idea happen? How did it evolve?
So because I am very enthusiastic, even when I was learning with the Chandrapalli Assam,
Hmm.
I showed great enthusiasm. I am so impressed with the hand gestures of Kathakali.
Hmm.
Mudra is a fascinating word for me.
Hmm.
Guru Gopinath used to conduct special classes
Hmm.
for me. Uh, for all the boys together early in the morning at 4 o'clock, 4 to 7:30, and
Hmm.
for me again 10 o'clock in the morning he come and take special class. So he explained me each pattern and several different interpretation and gestures, and he used to explain to me all these things. And he always used to say that I got this from Mathu Navalapunikar. He has great regard for Mathu.
Hmm.
Mathu was one of the greatest person in the world of Kathakali. He wrote that wonderful book, Kathakali Prakashika.
Hmm.
Those days, and Mahadev Balakar wrote the forward.
Hmm.
And so great approach in the book.
Hmm. Hmm.
It is even everything, even for mudras, he was not copying exactly the Sastrashna ideology, but
Hmm.
he mentioned that Kaladiriya Shastra.
Okay.
It may be his own.
Hmm.
Nobody could find that original or Kaladiriya Shastra.
Hmm.
His own innovation. And many
Hmm.
mudras are, which is used practically in the Kaladiri tradition those days. So he
Hmm.
was a one of the greatest person of the traditional Kaladiri scene.
Hmm.
The Guruji used to tell all these things. So that
Hmm.
inspired me so much. In my mind, I wanted to invent something through which I can document all the Kathakali mudras. One day I got an idea. Yes, I can notate. So I made the graphic symbols of all the basic hand gestures. One night, one rainy night, I was sitting in my father's today. I can't go home. There was no umbrella. So I got some dinner from the hotel, and I was sitting there, heavy raining. So I was thinking of only this since so many months. So some idea came suddenly.
Hmm.
Yes, I made 24 gestures, the graphics. Even I got fascinated.
Hmm.
I can't believe that it just came from me.
Hmm.
And then I made a system how to make it. And my father is a great artist, but he never tried to make popularity or anything. He was in Gemini studio when Uday Shankar was shooting Kalpana film. So he is also greatly interested in dance and many things.
Hmm.
He happened to see these symbols and he was highly impressed.
Hmm.
You don't like abstract kind of things. He's a
Hmm.
very Ravivarma school of painting.
Hmm.
He is highly impressed and he called me first time,
Hmm.
appreciating me.
Hmm.
This is very good. You go ahead.
Hmm.
That was a great inspiration.
Hmm.
Then I start notating the mudras. Then whatever Guru Gopinath and Shankarapalli Asan taught me, I used to notate. Then I showed to Guru Gopinath and he told the coupling arts side of Kathakali, which we are practicing now, of Mathur, was our great guru. Now the senior most is Guru Changana Ramale, you go there.
Hmm.
So I went to Guru Changana and he was so nice to me because he knew me very well.
Hmm.
Like a family member, he treated me and I stayed at home and started working with him
Mhm.
several times. And whenever he is performing in Trivandrum area, I used to go there, help him in the green room,
Hmm.
walk with him until where he stay. Like that, I was not officially a disciple, but my purpose was to learn mudra from him. That was a great experience. Not only
Hmm.
that, personality also very much attracted me. Such a wonderful dignity of an artist.
Hmm.
So I continued with that, and then later on, my collection became so.
When he saw these very minimal, very geometric and graphic representations, it was very modern. These the way you have represented these things. It was like before modernism came to Kerala. I think this was one of the first modernist projects. What was his response? Did he relate to it?
Actually, the notation is symbols and all. It came just like that. I don't know.
No, but did the guru like them when he saw them?
Yeah, Guru appreciated.
Okay,
He appreciated. Yeah.
okay.
And that is his, he has some sort of this thing. And but
Hmm.
he suggested me to go to Rambulla Chetan, and then I notated so many. I met so many Kathakali artists and notated around 800 hand gestures. Then I want the greatest artist of Kerala at that time, or India. I knew only KCS Panikar.
Hmm.
So I just, those days, no communication of telephone or anything. I just went there to Madras,
Hmm.
meet KCS Panikar.
Hmm. What
Humble.
age were you at that time?
I was only, yeah, 68. I was born in, yeah, 21, something like that.
21. Okay, okay. This young boy from Kerala is going to meet the greatest artist of India.
And fortunately, when I entered, he was staying in the campus of College of Finance in Madras. When
Okay.
I was entering, he was coming by car
Huh.
with family.
Huh.
Stopped. No, rather I stopped because I
Hmm.
could recognize him. I knew him. I
Huh.
read about him.
Huh.
I said, he was, who are you? I said, I am a student of Kathakali.
Hmm.
I, I wanted very much to meet you because I am doing this kind of art. And briefly, I said, okay, I don't allow anybody in my studio, but tomorrow at 6:30 you come. That is the
Hmm.
time, precious time for me to paint.
Hmm.
I tell my Chowkidar to allow you to go upstairs.
Hmm.
She gave me an appointment.
Hmm.
It's like I showed all the symbols.
Hmm.
He was highly impressed.
Hmm.
He said he gave me a lot of explanation about Indian art, the concept of the art,
Hmm.
very seriously, very
Hmm.
seriously. Such a great, great personality and wonderful. He gave me tea and treated me very affectionately, and he blessed me. And when I arrived home, I
Hmm.
got a letter also from him,
Hmm.
wishing great success. Then that was a great encouragement, and I continued notating, notating, notating.
Hmm.
So, then it is difficult in India to get this kind of dream to be fulfilled. So after I left Guru Gopinath,
Hmm.
I was notating. I
Hmm.
didn't continue the dance as such.
Hmm.
I was notating, notating, notating.
Hmm.
Then I got very egoistic. I thought that I will notate the whole Indian dance.
Venchit, I'm just stepping in for a second.
Yeah.
Just a note for everyone who's listening in. The audio is not as good as it should be because both where we know this in Trishur and where Venchetan is in Irnyalakuda, it's raining cats and dogs. So please forgive any audio disturbance. In a few points, I think Venchetan, I think, doesn't even have power. He's on backup power. So the audio is not as good as it is, as it should be. So please forgive that. It's a sort of act of God, as the phrase that's popular these days. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Vinod, do you want to
Yeah. Yeah.
pick up on
Again,
that?
Chetan, if you see, you also had an opportunity to meet the legendary Ustad Alauddin Khan, visiting his studio in Maihar, Madhya Pradesh. How do you recall that incident? And possibly it would have been the greatest art school of the country.
Hmm.
Can you please tell us something about those periods and the meeting?
No, would you please repeat because I can't
So
hear.
I think Vinod was asking about your encounter with Ustad Alauddin Khan, where
Alauddin
when you
Khan,
went to Maihar.
Maihar.
Uh,
And how was the whole meeting, and how do you recall that experience, and the creation of that school, and how has it inspired you as a person?
So after this making one uh, huge compilation of mudras, I wanted to visit northern part of India to study and to interact with people and so many things. And I got a chance to go there to Bhopal,
yeah.
Mm,
Bhopal. And
mm,
by the time, because I'm doing so much of research and meeting people and so many things, a lot of reading.
mm,
I used to read. I used to sit at public library in Trivandrum from morning until lunchtime. Then British library. Like that every week, at least 1 or 2 days I spent in the library.
mm,
So I knew many of what is happening in the Indian in the world of art. So
mm,
I was very fascinated with Ravi Shankar, Pandit Ravi
mm,
Shankar, and his music for Padal Panchayat with Satendra.
mm,
Hmm.
And that is in my mind. When I was in Bhopal,
Hmm.
I finally, luckily, find a teacher for teaching me also sitar.
Hmm.
I was practicing sitar with him, and I am appointed as a Kathakali dancer, but spent my life learning. There was facility for learning Madhya Pradesh folk dances, Dil,
Hmm.
Nag, all. I was
Hmm.
learning that, then sitar and many things.
Hmm.
Then I came to know Ravi Shankar's guru is only 150 kilometers away.
Hmm.
And teacher who was teaching me also from that Kharana.
Hmm.
mm,
I wanted to meet Alauddin Khan. Because by the time I heard a lot about him,
mm,
I went to my head,
Hmm.
saw him. He was more than 100 years old, and he was not very active at that time because all his disciples all are settled abroad.
Hmm.
But Maihar is a remote village. That's what astonished me.
Hmm.
Very remote village. Hardly the electricity came there. It's like a forest.
Hmm.
Main attraction business is this lime mine.
Hmm.
Okay. Hmm.
And there is the famous Annapurna Devi temple and so many things.
Hmm.
When I went there, because I knew about Baba, I was so
Hmm.
astonished why he settled down
Hmm.
in such a remote village.
Hmm.
It is a great surprise
Hmm.
because he was until the age of 50 years, he was only
Hmm.
learning music,
Okay.
and he learned so many different kinds of instruments, and vocal, and so many things.
Hmm.
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 And then after 50 years only he came out.
Hmm.
He did not know what to do. Then luckily he happened to meet, uh, this Swami Vivekananda's brother, a conductor.
Hmm.
He gave him the great opportunity to perform first time,
Hmm.
and he performed, and that was great, great music, and it was highly appreciated.
Hmm.
And then he was uh, appointed as a music director of Deshankar's Almora Center.
Hmm. Hmm.
Baba Alauddin Khan and Tota Shankar Nambu, he was the guru of early there.
Okay.
Alauddin Khan was the music director. They are very close friends.
Okay.
And Shankar also built a temple there in
Hmm.
Almora.
Hilal Moda.
Both of them go to the puja together. The Orthodox Sambudri Brahmin and Ustad. Together they do the puja.
Pujas.
Come out of the temple with the prasadam together. So that's a wonderful thing. And then he can settle anywhere in India. But the Maihar ruler invited him. Baba, I want to learn music. You
Hmm.
come to my village. I give you all facilities.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The greatest sponsor I ever heard is him.
Hmm.
He gave a huge land
Hmm.
and all facilities for him, his family, and those students came.
Hmm.
See, Ravi Shankar, Manadal Ghosh, Sharan Rani, Alauddin's own
Hmm.
Annapurna, Nikhil Banerjee, so many most eminent 20 artists, if you take of the 20th century, all are from Baba. Single man teacher.
This was when you went there, was it a town or was it a village?
Village.
Maihar.
It was a village.
Okay.
And
Where
Baba,
all these great artists would come.
pardon?
So the greatest artists of India would come to this village.
They
Yeah,
stay there.
came to the village. And Baba was the monarch there.
Hmm.
Only a guru can be something of a commander only if he is totally sponsored. If he is depending on the tuition fee coming from the students, he
Hmm.
cannot command. Even Division used to say when he was studying there, Baba is always very different than me. He
Hmm.
said, "Baitho."
Hmm.
He said, "तुम मेरा सामने बैठे with house." So, and he said, "Galias."
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Baba is a very different man.
I have read this story that I don't know if it's true, but apparently there was one time when he threw the sarod at the Raja, who was his benefactor, he was his patron. But he, in a fit of fury, he threw the instrument at him, apparently, at his benefactor himself. So there's a lot of these stories of his sort of eccentric behavior.
This question is not very
No, no,
clear.
there is I don't know how true it is, but there is this story that once Baba threw the instrument at the king, at the sarod that he was playing. He was upset for some reason, and he tossed the instrument at the king himself, at the Raja of Maihar. I don't know, it may not be a true story, but generally there is this impression that he was a very eccentric man.
Sarod is one of the instruments he learned. You
Hmm.
know, he could play 150 instruments. His while playing a violin, you can still see in the YouTube.
Huh.
Our
Hmm.
left hand going,
Hmm. Hmm.
and when he conducted Maihar band,
Hmm.
he selected members from the families,
Hmm.
farming
Hmm.
families of Maihar village, and taught the music.
Hmm.
He organized the first Maihar band, first symphony in India.
Hmm.
mm,
So he taught flute to Banalal Ghosh
Hmm.
and Sitar to Ravi Shankar.
mm,
So,
There's a wonderful.
he taught all instruments. The
Hmm.
two
mm,
disciples are Annapurna, but she unfortunately she she didn't come to the performance after because of so many reasons.
Hmm.
So that is Alauddin Khan, and Sarod is one of the instruments.
And
He
you trained under him. He taught you the sarod.
who
Did Babaji teach you?
no. I
He didn't
just
teach you. You
he
just went there to pay your
made
respect.
a little bit sitar from one of his disciples' son.
mm,
Very little because when I come to know that this is not my,
mm,
I don't have the sense of that kind of music,
Hmm.
and my fingers will get spoiled if I
Hmm.
mm,
play sitar. And I'm a performer. I got to do mudras. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I stopped with great admiration for Hindustani music. But
Hmm.
Baba's influence is that in art, you don't need any infrastructure to establish a training center. You have only a willingness to teach.
Hmm.
So nowadays, the university, this, that facility, that salary, and this, there is nothing there. Only a single man could create all these things. So that was my greatest confidence. I got inspiration from Baba.
Hmm.
That's why I could establish Kuriatal training and many things.
Hmm. Hmm. But this is something that I was also curious about. In India, we have all these schools that were founded by these remarkable men who were committed to the arts, very passionate men like Tagore, Baba himself. In Kerala, we had Mahakavi. Uh, so none of how do these I mean, these institutions have a slightly less than sort of successful journey after these founders pass away.
You
Uh,
know, what is happening as a continuation of what the great masters did it, that is not a broad matter to discuss.
hmm,
Because they have the great enthusiasm, they establish something up there, visualizing their dreams.
hmm,
Great Tagore, their background is different than great Balator,
hmm,
and also this so many other masters.
hmm,
Afterwards, it become an institution.
hmm,
So, in their absence, what will happen is not absolutely, we need not bother about it.
hmm,
What they have done during their lifetime is very important.
hmm.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
continuity.
Institution doesn't have any, I don't believe in a continuation of an institution. I don't think it can contribute unless there is an individual with great spirit and this thing. Institution is absolutely meaningless. This is what my humble opinion.
Hmm,
Seeing all these things, not only here but everywhere.
hmm,
You see, in Kodungalur,
hmm.
our institute before that, Kodungalur, three generations practiced
True.
Natyashastra Abhinaya. The last one was Bhagavatar Kunjanithalu.
Hmm,
With him, everything came to an end because the whole politics changed and ideas changed. Kodungalur school discontinued, but doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because that was there are specific purpose for why they conducted, and that was already successful by teaching to many artists. If there would have been a Kodungalur school, no Amanu Mahasakar, no Patikadri
hmm,
no
mm,
Tekangat Ravana.
hmm,
By teaching them, that is finished. Their purpose is finished. So if the school doesn't run, that doesn't matter.
so there has to be a figure like this. I mean, in the absence of somebody like this, you don't see these institutions flourishing.
It's not meaning, and I don't, I can't even imagine of somebody coming as
Hmm,
head of a training, social training institution. somebody with any university qualification or anything, how can they come and give guidance to the performance which they never even thought
Perform
of?
themselves.
Impossible. It never happened in the last generation or before that. I don't
But
think.
Chetan, you have traveled around the world. You have gone to the greatest schools of art training in Europe, in Japan, all over the world, in China. So this limitation of institutions not living up to the vision of their founders, is this true even outside India?
No, things are better.
Okay,
Better person, they understand.
okay.
They understand because people who are associated with the institutions are all are trained, most of them are trained artists. Not just because of the political influence somebody is coming there.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew the problem. So, for example, China.
Mm,
China, many of these big officers, one of my students is a big Jali, who
mm-hmm.
trained in Arizona, in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
She is one of the big boss. And she's already a trained Beijing opera artist. So she
Okay.
is appointed as an officer there.
Hmm.
It's a little bit sad, but still she can manage very well because she's already a trained person.
Mm,
She professionally trained
mm,
in Beijing opera and theater.
mm-hmm.
Then she become officer. That is
Mm,
different. So in
mm,
China, we can see this even now. Not only that in China, but I was highly impressed me is there is a training center, and those who are trained for them immediately the next day they are absorbed in the performing unit.
mm, mm,
There is a performing center,
mm,
and they perform with the senior artist.
mm,
And once in a week,
mm.
performance is only by junior students.
Okay.
Hmm.
So in a few years, they become stars. You have to make them stars.
Mm, mm,
Nobody understand this.
mm,
Here, who is the star? In
mm,
Kerala,
mm,
asking you.
mm,
None of these professional institutions have any activity attracting the media.
mm,
You see, we are boasting that Asia's biggest youth festival.
mm,
But who are these professional artists who are trained in Kathakali and all these things in several institutions in Kerala?
mm,
They never get a chance to perform.
mm,
And all attention goes to the youth festival.
mm,
Amateur children,
mm,
they become stars.
mm,
This is actually the worst thing happening in the cultural field of Kerala.
mm,
So unless this change, equal
mm,
importance given to them also,
mm,
all the professional institutions come together, conduct their festivals,
mm,
give exposure to the younger generation,
mm,
make them known when they are getting trained, their
mm,
talent, then
mm,
only can grow.
mm, mm. So, Venuchetan, Vinod Kumar, who's somebody who's listening to this session, he has requested you to talk about your experience with Ashok Vajpeyi while you were in Bhopal.
So Ashok Vajpeyi, when I was in Madhya Pradesh, I used to say that I have two great personalities. I mean, one is Baba Alauddin Khan, then Ashok Vajpeyi, the
Okay.
poet Vajpeyi. He was an IAS officer.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He came as a big boss of the cultural department,
Hmm.
and I was a very ordinary artist in the ND collaboration. And
Hmm.
collaboration was under his department.
Hmm.
So when he came, I think next week, I was doing a demonstration,
Hmm.
and his dancer wife, Rashmi Vajpeyi, is a dancer,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Kathak dancer, and she was a disciple of Shambhu Maharaj. They both came to see, and they are highly impressed, and they met me and asked next day to visit their house in the morning to have tea.
Hmm.
I went to him.
Hmm.
So I took my manuscript also there.
Hmm.
So I showed him, I said, I'm this, this, this. Then he was very much impressed and he said, this is not the place for you.
Hmm.
And what are the things I can do immediately? I said, I had to make the whole drawings into the blacking and with this huge pencil sketch manuscript. These are practical things. I have to do it with my
Hmm.
own hand.
Hmm.
So he said, tomorrow you start.
Hmm.
In the MP Kalaparishad, he has given me facility, a place to sit and write. There was no
Hmm.
room available, so he asked the assistant secretary, "You have a big room, you share with Venu."
A secretary.
Yeah, and he gave me all the instruction to the office to provide me everything I needed.
Hmm.
I need some color, this, that, drawing board, everything was brought to me because I was good. And in 9 months' time, I could complete my manuscript properly with the
How remarkable.
drawing. Then I work, and sometimes I used to do late night, and my the room and key is given to me, and I can go and come back. No official duties was a problem. Who will do this?
And nobody said Kathakali is not a local art form of Madhya Pradesh. Why are we investing in a Kathakali notation system? Nobody brought up such
And
criticism.
that was when that comes only when it is published.
Hmm.
Me to do the manuscript.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting there and doing my work.
Hmm. No, even from his part, this is such a sort of generous artistic vision that he was not thinking of this being a local form, but he
So,
saw this as a as work that needed to be done.
very generous, and is such a wonderful person. He transformed Madhya Pradesh into a cultural capital those days.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everything is gone. All the institutions he created is gone. But I still have great respect for him because I never found any IAS officer taking this kind of step.
Are you still in touch with him?
But
Are you still in touch with him?
sometimes when I go to Delhi and if I know that he is conducting, he is always doing some activity. So I go and meet him and listen to them. That is the friendship.
So after this wonderful experience, you returned to Kerala.
Yeah. Also, I think,
Vinod, do you want
yeah,
to?
yeah, I think your meeting with Guru Amanur Madhvacharya happened after you came back to Kerala, and one of the world's greatest actors. How do you recall the meeting, and when did you decide to become his disciple?
From North India.
Vinod,
No,
your line wasn't clear. Could you may want to repeat it one time.
no. After you came back from Bhopal, you happened to meet Guru Amanur Madhvacharya,
Yes,
and
yes.
also you decided to become his disciple.
Hmm.
So how do you recall the whole experience, and how did it happen?
So when I was in Bhopal, I was not staying at Bhopal. When there was no performance, I used to go all over, especially Delhi. Was my
Hmm.
main. There only the whole artists performing.
Hmm.
You know already Shambhu Maharaj and many people.
Hmm.
I have seen many great artists of India those days. The greatest Abhinaya gurus, Shambhu Maharaj, then
Hmm.
Bala Saraswati, I have seen 2, 3 performances.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when I came back, I have quite a good vision of what is Natya and what is art
Hmm.
performance. Then I was working on some projects,
Okay.
and I was going to Krishnatam.
Hmm.
So when I arrived in Thrissur, I read in the Express newspaper that there is going to be the last day of the 12th Kudiyatam performance, and Irinjalapada Madhavacharya is acting.
Hmm.
So I have seen Kudiyatam,
Hmm.
but I have not seen Irinjalapada Madhavacharya. So I
Hmm.
thought, I heard about him and I heard very orthodox and this and that. But
Hmm.
by curiosity, I thought that I must see his performance. So I went to the Bhutan around 9 o'clock. When Ravana came, Madhavacharya came as Ravana. My God, when he just looking at the lamp in the first entry, I was hypnotized. Really speaking, there was hardly 15 people,
Hmm.
but K.P. Nalabhishari was there, M.S. Rajagopalan was there.
Hmm.
I was really hypnotized.
Hmm.
And the solo acting of lifting up the Mount Kailasam and the description of the mountain and this Parvati Vigraham,
Hmm.
about 4 hours he was acting. I don't know the Atta Prakaram or anything, but I know vaguely the story because I, from Kathakali,
Hmm.
same portions are also taught in Kathakali. So I could follow it.
Hmm.
Then I thought, this is something great. I never saw this power of the eye.
Hmm.
So I thought in my mind that if my life is of uh, something meaningful, then I've learned a little bit from him. And when he was walking back, I did my Sashtanga Pranam, but he didn't care, he was there.
Okay.
From the next day onwards, I was doing a research on
On
Amanpur
demand. Uh.
and understood all his everything details on this. Then
Uh.
I made an appointment. Appointment in the sense I wrote a letter that I want to meet you, and he replied me. And I came during Anapula. I came. I never thought that he would be that impressed with me. Morning I came,
Hmm.
then he was very nice to me,
Hmm.
talking to because I'm asking so many things about him, sir, which
Hmm.
nobody usually bother.
Hmm.
And then it was during this after lunch.
Hmm.
I was offered lunch.
Hmm.
Then he went for a nap. I
Hmm.
wait. Evening also we continued. While he was washing the cow also, I continued my dialogue.
Hmm.
He said, he told me that don't go today. You have to go out the way to London.
Hmm.
Stay in our house.
Hmm.
That he somehow he developed an affection for it. You stay in my house. That is not the
Hmm.
old Kamala family,
Hmm.
the widow. So after dinner, Kanyi and all, and he gave me one mat to sleep, and there were all, many members in the other rooms.
Hmm.
Lying there, I thought I'm the luckiest person in the whole world.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I'm sleeping at the Amanur Chakyar Matham.
Hmm. Hmm.
Very fortunate.
Hmm.
So I had won the heart of Guru.
Hmm.
That was my starting beginning. Then I used to come very frequently and I started doing so many things for him.
Hmm.
But I never asked him to teach me because
Hmm.
I'm asked.
Hmm.
He don't like to teach anybody from other community because I knew that many people tried,
Hmm.
but he refused. Then I did for him so many things. He got the Academy Award, he got this Padma Shri, and so
I
many books.
believe you have rebranded him. You did a rebranding of Amanur Madhachakya.
Yeah, for the first thing I did was he was known as Irinyalukulam.
Uh. Uh.
Today, when I got more freedom, I said,
Uh.
give me your letterhead.
Okay.
I said, no, Amanur Madhavchakar because your uncle was Amanur Chachuchakar.
Uh.
I
Uh.
took the whole this thing and knew that we had put that as Amanur Madhavchakar is gifted to him.
Uh.
Like that, I never, it was my things were always action. Whatever he wanted, it is fulfilled.
Hmm.
Whatever he says to me, it is fulfilled.
Hmm.
I use all my resources to get it done. I never did for me this so far. Like
You
I
just
did,
served him, but at no point did you ask him to teach you.
pardon?
You kept serving him, but never asked him to teach you.
No, no, no.
Hmm.
Yeah, of course, he is like, they're all highly spiritual people. They do everything.
Hmm.
After Sri, when I was coming with him, I always travel with him. Whatever, wherever he go, I travel with him.
Mm-hmm.
And while coming back, he said, now you can also learn.
Hmm. 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 How did that feel?
That was in 1982.
How did it feel when he said that?
Pardon?
How did that feel when he said that you can also learn?
We are coming in the flight from Delhi after receiving the Padma Shri Award.
Hmm.
So he was overjoyed because I am only, he knew very well that I am only behind everything.
Huh. Huh.
I never tried for anything for myself in my life,
Hmm.
but I tried for many gurus.
Hmm.
That's my greatest achievement in life.
Hmm.
And unless there is somebody else propose somebody's
Hmm.
name, you
Hmm.
won't know what. In India, I can say,
Hmm. Hmm.
or whoever you may be,
Hmm.
there must be somebody to make
Hmm.
your back
Hmm.
propose, put it on time, and go behind that.
Hmm.
Nothing can be done here. So I use all my resources
Hmm.
to get those gurus accepted by
Hmm.
others, in which I am very successful. And while coming back, he said, "Now you can answer. You're so enthusiastic." I was working at that time at the School of Drama in Trishur
Okay.
as a teacher.
Huh.
Next day, I asked him to repeat again because I want a confirmation,
Hmm.
not in writing, but in words. And he said clearly, "You can learn from me," he said.
Okay. Okay.
I met my head of the department, Shangarapillai, G.
Okay.
Shangarapillai. I'm leaving. And he said, "Why you leave? You can take leave for this for a certain period. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot. There's a permanent job, but I said no. With a secure job, I won't be able to concentrate there. I may come back, but I know that I'm going to a very difficult task.
Hmm.
I'm suffering
Hmm.
financially and other things.
Hmm.
So I may likely go back.
Hmm.
I said, no, I don't want any security anywhere.
Hmm.
I just go there as an artist and learn and see what is happening. In this life, you know what is there. So I resigned and came back. That is my career to start.
So basically, you felt that if you had a job, there was the risk that you might drop your studies and you might go back.
Yeah,
So,
because naturally it is very difficult to survive because even Amanur is suffering.
hmm. Hmm.
As performer of the whole world is
Hmm.
suffering.
Hmm.
And there is no performance opportunity for Gujarat artists locally.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm going to learn.
Hmm. So
So
security was not a good thing.
yeah, everybody told me that all my well wishes you are doing a great mistake. For one man, Kepin Anabhashari,
Hmm.
when
The Sanskrit scholar.
he was visiting faculty at the School of Drama. So whenever he comes, we used to meet and talk.
Hmm.
My interest in Kuriatam actually he likes very much. When I
Hmm.
told him that I'm going to resign my job, I'm going to learn Kuriatam, he said,
Hmm.
"This in your mind, it is God's gift.
Hmm.
That is the idea. Go
Hmm.
ahead.
So,
You go ahead. You will be successful."
Were you married at the time?
At that time, I was no, I was not married.
You're not married.
That time,
And how long did you train with him?
since then until he passed,
That's it.
I'm there only. Yeah, Manu Chakya. We established a Gurukulam. Manu
Hmm.
Chachu Father Gurukulam.
Hmm.
I was the life secretary and he was the life president
Hmm.
until he passed away.
Hmm.
When he passed away, I thought that it is better quit. Uh, I quit the responsibility of Gurukulam.
Hmm.
My ideas are now going into many different things. I wanted to do more.
Hmm.
I handed over to the artists.
Okay.
All the artists together, they will form a committee and I handed over to
Okay. Okay.
them. That was in 2005. Yeah.
2005. Okay. Vencharan, how do you see the state of Kudiyatam at this point? Like in the period after that, Kudiyatam has been granted the UNESCO World Heritage status. There have been many sort of stellar performers who have come up, including Kapila. So, how do you evaluate the health of the form itself at this point?
Who are restrained during my period of managing Kuriatam school, the training was going on very well because I collected uh, all the details of the training from Bangalore, Namathakam and Amanu
Mm-hmm.
combined
Hmm.
and, and decided that 15 years training will be given to a student. 50 years. And no certificate is given,
Hmm.
nothing.
Hmm.
You learn 15 years and you prove in your performance. That is the idea.
Hmm.
So all these Ushadanya, Kapila,
Hmm.
Suresh Nandya, Ranjit, Rajanish Chakya, all trained in that district. They are still keeping highly professional standard.
Hmm.
But I don't want to comment on anything else
Hmm.
other than what was. The Skuriatam is the most tragic. I don't like this. It has gone to the youth festival.
Hmm.
Because there, this, things are making it very cheap.
Hmm.
For me, I learned, I think, in the after 20 years of being in the troop and learning,
Hmm. Hmm.
I didn't do a Shurpanaga.
Hmm.
But a chance came that I had to do Shurpanaga.
Hmm.
Then, with great permission and special training is given
Hmm.
by the senior Chakya, national Chakya to me for
Hmm.
6 months. Then only
Hmm.
I did Shurpanaga.
Hmm.
Now, any schoolboy, without any training, without any arrangement, they are doing Shurpanaga and Toranayam and this and that and Bali also.
Hmm.
So, this is too much.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I don't agree with all these things.
Hmm. Hmm. So that rigor in training you feel is compromised now.
Not only rigor and trade, those days, I just give you an example.
Hmm.
Uh, because every day we are interacting only with Korea, with the gurus and the people associated with Korea. There is
Hmm.
nothing else for many,
Hmm.
many, many years.
Hmm.
So always Guruji says, oh no, 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 no. We Kathakali have oil massage, but we don't need it.
Hmm.
He used to say like that.
Hmm.
Then I found
Hmm.
I don't trust all the people.
Hmm.
Then I found I got the letter from Prime Minister.
Hmm.
He was also very close to me.
Hmm.
He wrote a 13-page letter of
Hmm.
how he got trained.
Hmm.
He mentioned that 5 years, late Chachitekar arranged special ulcin for him.
Hmm.
And after 2 or 3 years, these junior boys, Mother Chakar and Parameswar Chakar also joined.
Hmm. Hmm.
He says all these, and for Ulchil,
Hmm.
Kavangal, Kathakali Truth Ulchil
Yeah.
man, Kurup,
Yeah.
used to come here.
Hmm.
And together with the Sangaragutti Panikir,
Hmm.
because he also wanted to have the origin here.
Hmm.
Because we like Samana Chakar, because
Hmm.
Guruji's mother is a very great fan of Kavali.
Hmm.
So the food is very good. So they all come, and like that, it was happening. And I got
Hmm.
the report, and I showed to Guruji. But
Hmm.
this is your colleague has written this. Oh, that is true. Then immediately I arranged for Ulchan,
Hmm.
Salim Krishnamurti, and all these people. All students are best oil is created and Ulchan is started.
Started.
After some time when we did research,
Hmm.
we want to test the Kadari Ulchan, how it
Hmm.
works.
Hmm.
Then we invited Hindustan Ravi people
Hmm.
here, a lady and a man, both.
Right.
So those days I spent all this for money, because they have to be paid highly professional.
Hmm.
My own personal income those days, when
Hmm.
I traveling abroad as a member of the World Theatre and all,
Hmm.
I spent on these kind of things.
Hmm.
So the training was individual initiative,
Hmm.
only this being in the position, but
Hmm.
seeing that everything is done.
Hmm.
So that is the attitude.
Hmm. Hmm.
Should be that. That's the individual is important.
Hmm. Hmm. So,
Without enthusiasm from an individual,
hmm.
you cannot do anything. You cannot create any specific.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, also, you have Venuji has published many books, right? You have been publishing and authoring many books, writing. You have been writing about many things about art. You have published many books.
I I think Vinod's question is about your publishing efforts, about how you have
Publishing.
authored many books.
Yeah.
So why is
So,
why is that important?
And
how?
because I my job, in the school of drama where I was paid well.
Hmm.
When I came to Kuriatam, there was no income actually.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I thought that we started publishing.
Hmm.
So the first book, Mohiniyattam, written by me and myself and my wife,
Okay.
and the notation of Mohiniyattam and gestures and so many things.
Okay.
That we published as the first book. Response is very, it's a bilingual English and Malayalam.
Hmm. Hmm.
Then immediately I published Mudras and Kathakali. It's
Hmm.
not, and those days it is very easy to sell books.
Okay.
If we send brochure and all, we get order in email.
Hmm.
So if we can sell one book a day, we
Hmm.
can survive.
Hmm.
Life has become very simple.
Hmm.
In 50 rupees I can sell. One book selling means I get 50 rupees.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
For 10 years I managed like that.
On the income from your books.
I selling books.
But did you start writing because you felt there were not enough books about performance forms?
Pardon?
Did you start writing because there were not enough books? Did you feel there was a gap?
Can't hear.
No, when you started writing these books, did you feel there were not enough books, that there was a lack of books?
So one reason, yeah. Because I find that all the English books are all written by foreigners,
Okay.
either Americans or Germans, about our art forms.
Okay.
Hardly there was a Bharadayar who wrote wonderful book on
Hmm.
Kathakali,
Hmm.
or very few like that.
Hmm.
But all the available books are all written by people from abroad.
Hmm.
Those works are not doing justice to our art form.
Okay.
So I thought we have to write.
Hmm.
I originally write in Malayalam and get somebody to translate my work.
Hmm.
So that is one of the reasons.
Hmm.
Because when I was invited this American Institute of Indian Studies for a seminar.
Hmm.
Bibliography is given on that
Hmm.
subject.
Hmm.
90% of the books are written by foreigners.
Hmm.
I'm ashamed.
Hmm.
I thought that I must change this.
Hmm.
So my books, and you cannot write a book and go to a publisher in India.
Hmm.
Then, first of all, they would like to have attractive coffee table kind of publications.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the point of view. Nobody
Hmm.
will publish with annotation or anything.
Hmm.
Government agencies, they say that they have funding given and all.
Hmm.
I never got it.
Hmm.
I know.
Hmm. Hmm.
Only the last book, Ramana Samshevam, I got some funding because my friend was the CEO.
Hmm.
But otherwise, I was a total failure in getting any
Hmm.
funding from any government agency. I approached, of course.
Hmm.
I approached many people, but I knew everybody.
Hmm.
I knew all the great people.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the funding, they say, oh, this is too much, and this and that. So many. So I started publishing my own, our own. It's a
When
great success.
Venuchetan, I remember that one time when we talked, you said that you had a copy of the Nangyar Kootu Attapragaram, the manual. There was a whole incident where you got the Nangyar Kootu Attapragaram from somebody. The manual for Nangyar Kootu Attapragaram, you had got a copy of it from somebody. That's a very interesting story.
You know, when I came to Kuriatam, I heard about Nangyarkot.
Hmm.
Haradayar has written in his book on Kathakali a few
Hmm.
lines about Nangyarkot.
Hmm.
That was my first reference.
Hmm.
Then some Ramapushardi in the uh, one of the old articles of Kuriatam, he has also mentioned two lines of Nangyarkot.
Hmm.
That's all.
Hmm.
And then I tried to see it. I
Hmm.
saw in Trishur Vitambalam,
Hmm.
those days this Nangarama of more than 70 years old.
Hmm.
She's not at all vain,
Hmm.
but she is very sincere. She
Hmm.
closed the doors of the Uttambalam and performed it.
Hmm.
And she knew only few slokas.
Hmm.
Say happens in Yanagoda temple also. They knew only few 10 or 15 slokas.
Hmm.
But where is the other acting manner? They are searching. And finally, Namachakra was also searching.
Hmm.
During his lifetime, he couldn't find it. So I sent the message to everywhere, all the Nandiyar families, if somebody can have any documents, please
Hmm.
give it to me.
Hmm.
One day,
Hmm.
the drummer, his name is Vanapur Gopinath,
Hmm.
and he got it.
Hmm.
He just probed me. When I was staying with my Guruji in the Trishur temple at the
Hmm.
Kokani Mandap,
Hmm.
just told me, this is a book interesting for me.
Hmm.
This book.
Hmm.
I was so 208 slokas.
Hmm.
It's detailed Atapural.
Hmm.
And most astonishing is that in India,
Hmm.
when performing is always considered to be Rasya.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is this Ataprakaram shows all the vigorous movements. Govardhanodharanam and Krishna is all this feeling of
Hmm.
the Kamsavada.
Hmm.
So many incidents of life of Krishna.
Hmm.
Done with masculine energy.
Okay.
First, I come across such a traditional text explaining all these things.
Hmm.
So actually, this book came to me after it went to Narayan Mandya.
Okay.
He got
Hmm.
it, this book, and he copied it.
Hmm.
Then after a few weeks only, it comes to me.
Came to you.
I immediately read it and I handed over to Guru. I mean, he has read it and he
Huh.
said, I will write precisely based on this
Hmm.
more detailed Abhinaya Atapara. That
Okay.
is the beginning of Nangyalputtu rejuvenation in the whole Kerala.
Okay. 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 Venuchetan, in Palakkad, we hear your name most frequently in connection with the revival of Tolpava Kutha. I'm from Palgad and I'm in love with Tolpava Kutha. And the first time I heard about your work was from the Pulavars in Kunatara. So you worked extensively with Krishnanguti Pulavar. So could you talk about that experience of working with Tolpava Kutha?
So my interest in so many things came, it is, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but
It was good only. Yeah. Hmm.
my introduction to puppetry was by Devilal Samar,
Okay.
Rajasthan. He was
Okay.
chairman of the Sangeeta Academy, Rajasthan. He himself
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
to travel with the troupe of puppetry and dance and many things. And I got a good friendship with him, and he used to take me with him whenever he visited Bhopal.
Mm-hmm.
Then, uh, when I was in Kerala, I always looked for puppetry. I
Hmm.
knew the shadow puppetry exists, but I saw first time when
Hmm.
during Old Malayalam Conference in 1976 in
Yeah.
Trivandrum. So it was at the Devar Balavan. I was in charge of some other forms,
Mm-hmm.
Mudiyethu.
Right.
So Shadow Puppet was performed. Very tragic because the whole area was illuminated with bright light.
Hmm.
And in the open stage,
Hmm.
in oil lamp. No puppet is visible.
Hmm.
Floor is in tears. You
Hmm.
can't, poor artists, if they say put off all these things, nobody bothers.
Hmm.
So I understood this immediately. I went to the inside and
Hmm.
then I met him. We
Hmm.
had a talk that night
Hmm.
and he invited me to his house. But
Hmm.
a few months,
Hmm.
like godly this thing, I
Hmm.
got a message from Kamala Devi Ji,
Hmm.
prepare
Hmm.
all the necessary details of the Tolpaku to prove,
Hmm.
synopsis and everything submitted immediately within 1 week
Hmm.
because they are going to celebrate the National Shadow Festival in which they wanted to include Tolpaku.
Okay.
I went to Belo's house.
Hmm.
We worked whole night because I had to send immediately next day.
Hmm.
In all the puppets,
Hmm.
measuring,
Hmm.
work, details. Then I
Hmm.
made a report and sent it to Delhi.
Hmm.
Immediately reply came that you not only sending the troupe, but you should also yourself come because they need a scholar
Hmm.
to discuss the matter in the seminar. So
Okay.
I opportunity below. But before going to Bangalore, we decided that we will work on the performance side.
Okay.
Those days, the performance is one puppet hanging here, another puppet hanging there,
Hmm.
and they will go on narrating the story, and there is not much manipulation.
Hmm.
So I worked with them, I think around 10 days,
Hmm.
and we went to Bangalore for the festival.
Hmm.
And we developed a very 1 hour performance with so much of manipulation technique
Hmm. Hmm.
did, and it was highly impressive.
Hmm.
And immediately the world Unima vice chairman, our contractor came running to the green room and said, "You are, please come to Tashkent for the festival
Hmm.
after a few months."
Hmm.
Then we all went to Soviet Union, Moscow, and Tashkent abroad. First
Hmm.
time touring abroad.
Hmm.
Again, we worked on this. So that was the.
Hmm.
Then came Kamala Devi said, "No,
Hmm.
we have training program." Then
Hmm.
we trained all the same people who are now performing. All are
Hmm.
trained. The
Hmm.
training program introduced those days. Kamasundaran, Vishwanatham, Krishnan, all are trained there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Many others also trained, but making was totally gone.
Hmm.
Brought back.
Hmm.
So that was my connection with the shadow puppet. I worked a long time and I wrote
Okay.
a paragraph also when Krishnamurti got the national award.
Hmm.
All my artist gurus worked with me, all got the national award.
Hmm. Hmm.
Except
Venuchetan, that short piece that you created, you sort of choreographed at that time. Even today, we organize that performance in many places, and especially in schools, and we see how sort of captivated children are, and we also owe a debt of gratitude to you for doing that sort of energetic version of what used to be a slightly long drawn sort of ritual performance. So you just mentioned two other things. You mentioned Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. You just mentioned Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, who's for me like I figured who I admire a lot. And you worked with Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay on the revival of glove puppetry, Bhava Kadagali,
not only glow, but even shadow puppetry.
the
So
shadow
many
puppetry
times
also. Yeah.
she visited shadow puppet village. Sometimes in this, so many remote areas we go together.
Huh.
She used to sit whole night.
Huh.
Amma's wonderful time. We never get any TADA or anything for such
Huh.
travel.
Huh. Huh.
It's more than if Amma says, I'm coming, I'm there. Whatever I have other engagements, I just
Hmm.
time. Then globe of what she discovered.
Hmm.
Kamala Devi, when she happened to be in Thrissur Museum,
Hmm.
there were two globe puppets there in the collection.
Okay. Okay.
Kathakali puppets.
Okay.
And immediately she saw the possibility.
Okay.
Next time when she came, she asked me, come with me. We
Hmm.
go to,
Hmm.
and because they are the main institute,
Hmm.
to request them to take up this project of reviving Pavakadagadi
Hmm.
so that we can give some funding to them.
Hmm.
Together we went because I think Chittaman Vedipal was the secretary there.
Okay.
They received very well Kamala Devi Amma and all this, but they didn't agree with the taking of this project of puppetry in their mother outlet. They said we are action Kathakali is going on,
Okay.
so not possible. Then she is a little bit frustrated, and then she suggested that why don't we meet this Sangeetnada Academy people, Kerala.
Hmm.
So further we went,
Hmm.
talked to the secretary, and they
Hmm.
said, okay, we can do, try and this. Then immediately some money was sanctioned,
Hmm.
and Sangeetnada Academy
Huh.
selected Chamu Pandare
Huh.
and gave some money. Those
Huh.
days, 500 rupees to the master and
Hmm.
150 to the students like that.
Okay.
You can't conduct a training program with that kind of money unless there is somebody involved in it.
Hmm.
They didn't do anything. They are
Hmm.
already very poor people.
Hmm.
So they couldn't do anything, any work. After 6 months,
Hmm.
and we used to ask reports.
Hmm.
So the state academic secretary traveled all the way to particular village and found that nothing is done.
Hmm.
So he recommended not to continue the scholarship. So they
But
discussed
Venuchetan, why was training needed? Were these people not trained already?
training. There was not training. Traditionally, they show some portions.
Hmm.
Chamu was a wonderful person.
Hmm.
He can play puppet with both the hands.
Hmm.
There was nobody to make new puppets.
Okay.
So anyway, it was discontinued. Then
Okay.
Kamala Devi is Chamu.
Hmm.
Then Kamala Devi, next time when she came, she said, Venu, it's my humble request, you take up the project.
Hmm.
That time I am very actively involved with the Kuriatam, the
Okay.
Prabhu training, and then this Muriatu training, and so many things.
Hmm.
And then finally I said, Amma, it's very difficult because I have very, already so many burdens. No, no, it is my humble request, please.
Hmm.
Then myself and my brother Ravi,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I requested him to help me. He's a very good photographer and he's already
Hmm.
interested in puppetry.
Hmm.
So we collected old puppets. That's the first thing that we did.
Okay.
Some families don't perform, but they
Hmm.
have the puppet.
Hmm.
We purchase it. You cannot just take it.
Hmm.
You can't, because nowadays handicapped people are already going to all these places and collecting everything.
Hmm.
So only if you can pay more than that, only you can pay.
Hmm.
Nobody gives funding for all these things. So
Hmm.
as I want to be
Hmm.
collected around 10, 15 puppets.
Hmm.
They're all beautifully carved. See, beautifully carved
Hmm.
puppets from 80s century.
Hmm.
And so none of these pandarams can make puppets.
Hmm.
Actually, the making of the puppet was usually the craftsmen of the local area,
Hmm.
and it is commissioned by the rich families.
Hmm.
They say to the woodcarver of that place, okay,
Hmm.
carve 5 puppets for my this pandaram.
Hmm.
So they used to make the puppets.
Hmm.
Pandarams only play it.
Hmm.
Nowadays, people don't understand all these things. We studied everything in detail.
Hmm.
Then I showed this old puppet to Kamala Devi Amma. He said, oh, great, well, continue
Hmm.
training.
Hmm.
At that time, I was working in School of Drama.
Hmm.
So I gave this whole project to Changanur, this Kathakali center.
Hmm.
Some of the traditional boys have been trained, selected, and also some of the Kathakali boys there
Okay.
also included in the project.
Mm-hmm.
And the project is given to them.
Hmm.
But after, and Totashiri Narayanandari is a wonderful person. First
Mm-hmm.
in Kathakali, who
Mm-hmm.
can wood carving, who is very good wood carving,
Okay.
performer.
Okay.
He made some of the puppets, about 10 puppets,
Okay.
very beautifully, and occasionally we discuss. We don't want to continue exactly the size and things of old type thing. We
Looking
have to
good.
be practical.
Huh.
So it looks more theatrical.
Hmm.
So carved some puppets and it came out very well.
Hmm.
But the training part was not going at all. So they are more busy in learning
Hmm.
their own other things.
Right.
But this K.V. Ramakrishnan, one of the tradition man, he
Right.
learned
Right.
music,
Huh.
singing. And then it was going on like that. Then suddenly Kamala Devi left academy.
Hmm.
So all the grant and everything stopped.
Hmm.
But she sent a message, a
Hmm.
telegram that I want to see the Pava Kathakali performance.
Okay.
Nothing is ready. So
Hmm.
I have only 2 weeks.
Hmm.
I don't want to. She believed that I didn't do anything. So I rushed, and collected all the puppets,
Hmm.
gathered all the available volunteers.
Hmm.
Then we started workshop.
Hmm.
Selected Kalyana Saudhya and started at night. And play came very good.
Huh.
So all this K.V. Ramakrishnan, K.C. Ramakrishnan, and Karupan,
Hmm.
Vedan, they were all Bandarans, the artists.
Hmm.
Actually, it is trained. I put all my ideas to them and made the manipulation. And
Hmm.
this small lamp,
Hmm.
and the small curtain, everything is
Hmm.
in fashion at that time.
Hmm.
Originally, they don't have anything.
Hmm.
The play came out very well.
Very well. Huh. This was in Delhi.
Pardon?
This was in Delhi.
Thanks.
This was in Riyanapura.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were we went to Delhi, and Kamala Devi Ji came to see this.
Hmm.
And as we went there, she came.
Hmm.
CCRT. She
Hmm.
wanted to give a performance there.
Hmm.
She arranged a performance. She said, no. You should be seen by Delhi audience.
Hmm.
So the next, the third day, she was organizing a performance in IAC theatre.
Hmm.
She sent immediate invitation to everywhere. A wonderful Kannadi puppet came.
Hmm.
And that performance, Kamala Devi is standing at the door, main door, distributing synopsis.
Hmm. Hmm.
That was the greatest moment in my life.
How
And
old was she at that time?
pardon?
How old was she at the time?
How old?
How old was Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay at that time?
I think she was 80, more than 84.
Still so energetic. Huh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Very energetic.
okay, I think when you are talking about in this whole conversation, you're talking of a lot of
Vinod, do you want
great
to take
people.
out your headphone? Maybe the headphone is not helping.
Yeah.
You can probably unplug
In
it and.
the whole conversation, you're talking of some big figures, colossal figures. Even I think you are part of that generation. Today, we don't see many of such people. Why is it so? Is there any reason, right, from the people you are talking of?
Repeat the question. You can't hear. Heavy raining outside.
Yeah. Mm.
Please repeat.
Why
Yeah.
why do we not have these big figures like
Big
Kamala
figures
Devi?
today. Yeah.
Not clear. Venuji, Vinod's question is: you talked about all these great figures like Ustad Alauddin Khan. You talked about Ashok Vajpeyi, about Ammanur, Kamala Devi,
Kamala Devi. Yeah.
Krishnamurti Pulavar. All these grand figures. We don't seem to have many people like that these days.
Or do we have? We do not.
Or do we have
Yeah.
such people that
Yeah.
we are not aware of?
Mm.
What? So what, do we have such people today? Do we have people of that stature today? I think it's still not clear. Can you hear us, Renujatan? I think his line has gone off. Renujatan, can you hear us? Can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Vinod's question was, why do we not have people like Ammanur and Ustad Alauddin Khan, Kamala Devi, etc. These very sort of colossal figures.
Or, or do
Why
we
do we?
have? We don't know. Yeah.
It all depends the cultural atmosphere of the country.
Okay.
See, the passion come only if there is value for the art.
Okay.
India never, after independence, we never value that properly the tradition.
Hmm.
When I came to Irinjalakuda, Amanur was not having a single student.
Okay.
Nobody bothered such an artist existed in Irinjalakuda.
Hmm.
And he was very healthy. He was doing 100 Surya Namaskaram and everything perfect.
Hmm.
Physical condition and everything, and such a great performer. But not bother to honor him, or nobody bothered to
Hmm.
support him, and nobody bothered to send their children to learn.
Hmm.
To
Hmm.
this is the condition with most of the different parts of India.
Hmm.
Promotion side is absolutely it is.
Hmm.
If the Maihar ruler, single man,
Hmm.
he said, Baba, that you come to my village, I provide you everything.
Hmm.
Not that kind of an action. How can you expect? How can you expect?
Hmm.
Who can create fire in another generation? That, okay, you go ahead.
Hmm.
And they see also the future.
Hmm. Hmm.
Alauddin Khan's period, singers were highly respected.
Hmm.
Singers were the stars of India, especially Hindustani singers
Hmm.
and musicians. They were
Hmm.
all big stars
Hmm.
and the kings, and they all gave great support. They were
Hmm.
having a very good, lively condition,
Hmm.
respect, everything. So,
Right.
in the
Right.
generation like Baba Alauddin Khan started learning and learning and learning 50
Hmm.
years.
Hmm.
Because to achieve perfection,
Hmm.
they knew that the value is respected.
Hmm.
Now, who bothers?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, you cannot expect. Can
Hmm.
you? We always think there will not be. I doubt very much. Will there be a Sri Narayana Guru again
Hmm.
born? I don't
Hmm.
think so.
Hmm.
System changed.
Hmm.
Sri Narayana Guru or Chaitanya Swami,
Hmm.
impossible to believe that such people come back now.
Hmm. Hmm. So that age of giants is over.
Correct?
So that age of those big figures you feel is over.
Yes.
Venuchetan, there is a very interesting question from Shruti Mohan, and Shruti's question is about she's apparently your student. So I'll just ask a question. Venuji, the Navarasa Sadhana course that you conduct has been a life-changing experience for me and many of my peers from the dance and acting community. Do tell us how the idea came about and how you designed the course.
Actually, all my interaction with the gurus, the great gurus, and many different forms of art all over
Hmm,
India,
hmm,
around, they have a lot of idea about actor training
hmm,
and specific research at the Kodangallur.
hmm,
Now, Kodangallur, the scholars,
hmm.
their actor training was very different. It doesn't
Okay.
exist.
Uh,
Mangal Mahasdekar and all, they were trained finally after their traditional Kodiyattam. They went there for higher training of Abhinaya,
hmm,
acting of
hmm,
Dravidian management.
hmm.
And I did a lot of research. The
Okay.
moment I got to know about Saravayu, the kind of
Hmm,
technique that they were
hmm,
working on.
hmm,
The most astonishing was three
hmm,
generations of the scholars.
hmm.
They worked on Saravayu and Navas,
Hmm.
not all aspects of Navas.
Okay.
So that really astonished me, and I studied as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's all my personal research.
Okay.
I never wanted to teach actually because I was already busy with many other things.
Hmm,
So then once I retired from performing, there came a proposal from Singapore, this Intercultural Theatre Institute.
okay.
I was recommended actually by Chandralekha, the great dancer. He only told them that if you want Indian acting, you invite Venuji.
Hmm,
So Shashikaran came
hmm.
and we had a long interaction. And
Okay.
she saw the play Sakuntala in Kodiyattam, directed by me, the rehearsal. He was very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I started teaching actually.
Okay.
That started in 2005.
Hmm,
I started teaching because I stopped performing, then started teaching.
hmm,
There it was Some of this famous Malayalam director Shankar Venkatesan was my student.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Malay, Chinese. So there, I taught. Then after 2 years, I was invited to National School of Drama to teach.
Hmm.
So at the National School of Drama, second year,
Hmm.
I was teaching some brilliant students. I thought that if they had some good idea about
Hmm.
stars with the
Hmm.
breaths, everything which I was working on,
Hmm.
that would be very helpful to them. So I
Hmm.
started actually Navrasada there
Hmm.
at the National School of Drama.
Okay.
And that really made very spread. And those students who are trained there,
Mm-hmm.
especially Marathi actor Kalyani Malay, she was highly impressed and she wanted to have special training, further
Hmm.
training at Narathi.
Hmm.
I refused it. I said, no, no, I don't have time. And I don't
Okay.
want it. But she didn't bother, she came. I taught her. She became very successful and she became best actress in many festivals.
Hmm.
Then came so many people, Atin Hussain came, the great actor, Sandhya Madal came, so many people came. Then all the dancers,
Hmm.
all the dancers like Meera Srinarayanan and so many people. And the last one is, yeah, this Sri Mohan and yes, they're all very good dancers. And also, almost now around 750 students had some initial training. She's a Odissi dancer, Sonali
Hmm.
Mishra.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it become, once they are trained here, Parvati Menon is one of the very famous dancers.
Hmm. Hmm.
So they believe in it and they got trained and they say it is highly, they can develop. This is a starting, they get the base. In 15 days, they say life-changing experience.
Hmm.
This is possible. This was possible because this is the last batch I trained here, the live workshop.
Hmm.
All eminent dancers from
Hmm.
all over India.
Hmm.
So Sridhar Nambiar, Bhargavi,
Hmm. Hmm.
all eminent dancers.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we have here.
So Vinod, I think we should wrap rather soon. If you have another question, and maybe we can ask one more audience question.
Yeah, yeah. I think I also heard about a movie. I think I've seen Kapila. And I think Venu has also acted in it a bit. What do you have to say about that, Venu? Are you
Venuji,
here?
the film Kapila, where you came back from retirement.
Yeah, that is.
Ah.
That somebody, Sanju Surendran, a young director, he made a film on Kapila.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
Then she was doing the role of Lalita.
Okay.
And so she insisted that I do the Rakshasi Shurpa. That was my
Hmm.
last performance. I did
Hmm.
Rakshasi Shurpa. So that is, the film came out very well. This is my Shurpa.
This is your shoot, mother.
And
Hmm.
Shurpa is quite famous.
How was that experience?
Experience, I am always different. I cannot just copy what the Guru says, whoever it may be.
Hmm.
My approach should be different. When there was a suggestion came that I can do Shurpanakha, I started learning. Sorry. So nominal valuation check
Hmm.
systematically the traditional Shurpanakha.
Hmm.
Then gradually I started working on Shurpanakha.
Hmm.
I did a lot of research. I don't want to depict a Rakshasi Shurpanakha.
Hmm.
And I started feeling that she is the most beautiful
Hmm.
woman in all the three worlds.
Hmm. Hmm.
Black is the most precious color. and she don't find a match in the heaven or the middle world. Apparently, when she saw Rama, she fell in love.
Hmm.
So my Shurpanakha is full of love for Rama and a weeping Rakshasi.
Hmm.
Yes, Rama. When she was rejected and she was weeping.
Hmm.
And when she come into the Ninam,
Hmm.
feeling was like a deify, Theyyam kind of. In Theyyam, somebody is killed or is badly inserted, then
Hmm.
people die. So Ninam is a deify attitude. And I always feel, when I am in Ninam, I always feel I am goddess.
Hmm.
So that kind of change I made. I don't know how many people those days appreciated that.
Hmm.
But nowadays, many people are asking, can you do something? I said, no. Once retire means retire. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Hmm. Venuchatan, if you're okay, we'll ask one last question. Are you okay?
Yeah,
Because you seem to have a bad throat right now. Are you okay?
yeah.
Okay, okay. So this is a question from Malini Krishnangutti. It's a
Thank
very
you.
interesting question. Yeah. So the question is about performance spaces. So she, as an architect, her interest is in performance spaces. So earlier we used to have the Kutambalams where there were very strict sort of mandates on how to build a Kutambalam. Now, of course, Kudiyatam is performed outside of Kutambalams also. So her question is, do you have any views on designing performance spaces for traditional art forms?
Of course, so many. That was my greatest dream always.
Hmm.
To go to Japan, every
Hmm.
city is specific theatre for. No.
Hmm.
In Kerala, not a single theatre is constructed
Hmm.
except the temple theatres.
Hmm.
Temple theatres have many rules and regulations.
Hmm.
Non-Hindus cannot perform. Then non-Hindus cannot enter even to see the performance.
True.
All these things. So two new Kutambalams create only Satyanagaramanda. Another is at Vailopalli.
Hmm.
Satyanagaramanda Kutambalam looks very beautiful.
Hmm.
But purpose is not serving. Why Kutambalam?
Hmm.
Main is concentration and acoustic.
Hmm.
So the corridor of Karnataka Godavari is really disturbing. People walking and how can you do it?
Hmm.
So beautification is a different thing. But
Hmm.
purpose of a
Hmm.
Kutam is not served in the Karnataka. I told the designer of Kutam around
Hmm.
that they are very good for us.
Hmm.
And Vairapalli Kutam is the problem good. There is some modern aspect have been brought, but the
Hmm.
green room is too small.
Hmm.
So I think whenever we make a performing space, when we think of that, the performers, the experts of the performance should be consulted.
Okay.
See, there was a new Kuttamaram came for this thing, tourism department in Thrissur, but unfortunately that was burned.
Hmm.
Again, nobody was consulted. I was not
Hmm.
at all, and
Okay.
nobody was. If I am not to be not enough qualified for consulting, then
Hmm.
who are
Hmm.
they have to spend 40 years with the
Right.
traditional artists, but why they are not consulting me?
Hmm.
Then here that culture is not there.
Hmm.
They have the funding, immediately they start working with the PWD engineer and this and that. Ugly theatres, all modern theatres are ugly theatres.
Hmm.
In Kerala.
So
The
if you
great,
were to give Vinod or Malini some guidance, if you were to give, say, three things to take care of, what are those three things?
of course, Vinod created here a wonderful
I
space.
know,
I
I
know,
know.
and Yanagula for
Sadhana Kairali.
and such people with good knowledge of this. Malini is working, I know her. so many years. And you know, the wonderful thing, when Malini and her husband, Manshu, we are all associated in a seminar conducted
Hmm.
on performing space in
Hmm.
Mumbai. The result is Rangashankar of Bangalore.
Hmm.
Arundhati Nag was there attending the seminar.
Hmm.
So, a wonderful theatre Rangashankara came.
Hmm.
Recently, we had a discussion. She said, yes, I remember very well. Yes. All suggestions and everything. She was in the beginning planning stage.
Hmm.
So, that is possible. And we had a seminar in Chennai that was actually conceived by Ludwig Pesch, a Carnatic musician, German.
Hmm.
They made a Citrangam, small theatre, wonderful.
Hmm.
But there is no continuation of that. Government, all the major projects are run by government and officers.
Hmm.
They think they are everything. They never consult. In Kerala, worst, worst.
But if they consult you, what will you tell them?
Pardon?
If they consult you, what will you tell them?
I tell many things. I have many, many ideas about how a performance space should be. You know, all Indian traditional performances, as an audience, you should be able to see everything from head to foot, Prasadi
Hmm.
Padam, clearly.
Right. Hmm.
Kuttambaram's temple Kuttambarams or existing Kuttambarams are not the ultimate.
Hmm.
There are many drawbacks. So we
Okay.
had to discuss and find the rights
Hmm.
uh, thing, requirements, and then we can do it. And in Japan, it is done. Everywhere you can see no Vapurush.
Hmm.
It's very interesting and very modern, but at the same time very traditional.
Hmm.
So this is, you know, even guidelines like Guru
Hmm.
Gopinath, Kerala
Hmm.
Government.
Hmm.
I was very, very angry when
Hmm.
I heard IAS officer was telling me,
Hmm.
yeah, I made the guideline for Kerala
Hmm.
Government.
Hmm.
Hell, he has.
Hmm.
Where from he has got this?
Hmm.
How can he make guideline for youth festival of an art form which is conceived by a great artist?
Hmm.
It is absolutely against his willingness,
Hmm. Hmm.
his this thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not happening. You
Hmm.
can't have.
Hmm.
I say more now because I don't care because I don't want any this.
Even Tagore theaters are there. Tagore theaters are there in India now. Yeah.
You know, if I am in charge of something like that, you know, I would have, first thing I demolish all Tagore theatres. Because Tagore, our son, who don't believe in performing in theatre, he used the
Hmm.
whole campus for his
Hmm.
residence center,
Hmm.
full of natural art. You know, how can you make proscenium theatre, ugly proscenium theatre with this audience very far away sitting? All Tagore theatres, who I don't know who the hell designed it.
Hmm. No,
Very
that's
bad.
very ironic.
It is an insult.
That's, I think it's rather late, and I feel we should probably draw the
Yes,
session to a
yes,
close.
yes, yes. Yeah.
But I have, for everyone who's listening, a small request, uh, for all these wonderful art forms that Venuchetan talked about. He didn't talk about, because we had limits of time. He didn't talk about his work with Mudiata, about Padayani. There were so many other things also which he has worked on. In all of these things, he has done a lot of work in his time, but many of those art forms are back at the brink now, and that is made even worse because of COVID-19, because all the artists are going through a very difficult time. Uh, all of us can help in this area in one way. Whenever in our office or in our house we have a celebration, it's possible for us to keep aside some of the budgets to hold a performance. and Intac is very willing to help find a performer to come and interpret it for you if we can. So ultimately, I mean, while he didn't say it in so many words, if the artists have a good livelihood, then the creativity will come, the vigor will come, um, the innovation will come, the excellence will come. And here is a man who, over decades, he's plowed a lonely furrow, and he's almost single-handedly sort of tried to revive many of these wonderful art forms. But now I mean, at the time that he was doing these projects, I think we were not as affluent as we are now. Today we are not today, but recently we've become a rather affluent middle class state. So when you have a wedding at home, when you have a birthday party, when you have your parents' sort of golden anniversary, please sort of bring in a group of performers from nearby. You will have a wonderful time. We have done this for some people, and they have the best time of their lives. And if there are 15 days of performance, that alone is enough to ensure that these wonderful art forms don't die out. So that is one way in which all of us can help. So please keep that as a message. Please spread this word around. We are not Venujis. We are all fairly ordinary people. But here is one way in which we can all sort of take that sort of mantle forward. So that's one message that I wanted to put out, because during COVID-19, one of the worst hit groups are the traditional artists. So on that note, thank you very much, Venuji, for all those wonderful stories, the inspiration, the wisdom. We are so grateful that you agreed to do this on a Sunday, and it's not the ideal circumstances. You've got like it's raining cats and dogs. So thank you so much for doing this. We are very, very grateful.
Right. Thank you, Nitin and Arun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vinod, and equally thanks very much to everyone who's logged in today. Everywhere, power is sort of not in. I mean, supplies are interrupted. So do join. Thank you very much for your company, and do join for other sessions. But before that, there are similar sessions being conducted by other chapters of Intac, other divisions of Intac. All of them cover remarkable people like Venuchetan and various fascinating topics. There are a couple that we had. The Calicut chapter is holding a session uh, conducted by the archaeologist Dr. K.K. Mohammed. I think that happens tomorrow. Please do log in and watch that. I think the Delhi chapter has a conservation talk by an international expert. David Tickett is talking on. This is a very technical session, so if there are experts who'd like to listen to these things. All of these sessions are being conducted by different parts of Intact. Please do log in if you're interested. And we will have more sessions coming up soon. Next week, we have another equally fascinating person coming up. So please do give us company. Vinod, any concluding notes?
I think it was a great opportunity, and I feel, especially for the dancers, the young dancers, and all, not just the dancers, for everyone in the field of art, I think it's a big revelation, or it's a big opening, and I'm sure they all would be inspired to do more work.
True, very true. And all of these, as usual, I have my usual phrase: we are only opening up certain possibilities, certain doors. You can reach out to us, and if you have more questions, if you'd like to have longer conversations, Venuchetan has a whole bookstore at his place in Irinjalakoda. We talked about those books. There are books that can be purchased. There are so gold mine of sort of knowledge on our art forms. You could buy those books through Nadana Kairali, which is his institution. So please carry the conversation forward. But for now, have a great week ahead, and good night. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you.
you. That is taking this initiative. So
Most
great.
welcome. Most welcome. It's entirely our pleasure.
If we're not, very happy to be with you.
Thank you.
Most welcome, sir. Most welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.